certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Fellas, I feel this is my lucky day.
Brilliant.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Rankum. This is the first one for the year. It's their usual fun one, but it's the top 12 movies of 2023. And I've got a great panel here. Got JPO. JPO, how's it going?
Oh, just well. Yeah, it was a fun year of movies. I saw almost 140 of them, and there's at least 12 good ones. So yeah.
And we've also got Dylan here. Dylan, how's it going?
It's going great. JPO's got me beat. I'm only at 102 right now, but I still have a bunch that I need to cross off the list. This is a really good year of movies, so it's tough to narrow it down to 12, but then placing it between 10, 9, 8, that gets very tough. But I'm excited to talk about it because I think we're going to talk about a lot of great movies today.
And we've also got Jacob here. Jacob, how's it going?
It's going great. I saw exactly 12 movies, so I made sure to get to at least 12 for this episode specifically. So those are
It's not the best. It's just the 12 you've seen ranked.
Just the 12 I've seen. You ready to talk about Quasi?
Oh no!
And we will be having one more person join us in a bit. He's just running a little bit late. But how this is going to work, we're going to be doing a little bit different. It's going to be pretty much top 10 style. I'm going to be doing the 12 to 10 first, and then 9 to 6, and the top 5 will be doing one apiece. And if someone's got a movie outside of the 12 to 10 range or the 9 to 6 range, then we'll just say punt, and we'll talk about it when it gets to the highest position it ends up being. And yeah, but with that being said, it's going to be interesting when Aaron here gets in because I don't know if he's punting any of these, but JPO, what is your 12 through to 10?
All right. So we'll just do them 3 in a row.
Yep.
Do I do explanation or do I rank them or whatever?
Well, just say them first, and then give people a chance to punt it if they need to punt it.
Okay, at number 12, I have D&D, Honor Among Thieves. At 11, I have Scream 6. And at 10, I have Joyride.
D&D is a punt for me, but you can talk about Scream 6 and Joyride.
Yeah, all right. So, I got Scream 6 at 11. I'm always been a Scream fan. Not a bad movie in the franchise yet. In fact, I actually think that 3 is better than 4. I think it's more fun. But we're with 6. I think we have a really great opening segment. It does something different. We obviously have a new location this time as well, which I think was a smart move. Same directors as the 5th movie. And, I enjoyed the cast. I enjoyed seeing my girl Hayden Panettiere back. And yeah, just had a fun time, man. You know, the main 4 from last time kind of returning here. A little bit of a shoehorn, Courtney Cox was still kind of cool to see her as well. And I had fun with this, and look forward to seeing where it's going. A little trepidatious because they're changing directors, but still enjoying the franchise to a very large degree with what they're doing. And then my number 10 was Joyride. Just one of those comedy movies just kept getting more and more word of mouth, and I just simply put, I had laughed a good amount of times. I think it had the right amount of heart as well here. You know what I mean? About kind of being yourself and whatnot, and really good group of leading ladies in the the main 4 roles. Everyone had a different kind of character arc, and I enjoyed the ride, if you will. Get it?
But Dylan, what is your 12 to 10?
My 12 through 10. These might be punts just because I feel like these are low by a lot of people's standards, but they are in my top 12. My number 12 is John Wick Chapter 4. Punt, figured.
Punt.
My number 11 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Punt.
And my number 10 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Punt.
So I figured.
Hey.
listen, when you watch 100 films, the top 12 alone is great. So I know there are people who are going to be like, it's only number 12, but like it still made the 12. So that's my argument. But we'll talk about it later.
Jacob, what do you have at weird 12 to 10?
Yeah, my number 12, I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. Then at 11, I have Past Lives. And at 10, I have Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
That's a punt.
Okay, I figured one of them would be. So, yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I thought this was a fun time. I've been a big Turtles fan, pretty much since I was born. I've always mentioned this about the first movie. The first movie was the number one movie in America the day I was born. So we've literally grown up together, me and the Turtles, and and this was just another fun entry. I love the animation style. I think the animation style that they're using has really worked for a lot of these like superhero, these action movies. I think the animation style, I really dig it. I thought the story was really interesting. The fact that it's not a Shredder villain, I think I really appreciated that. And the fact that they actually sound like teenagers and not adults who are in their, either, high 20s or mid 30s or whatever. They actually sound like teenagers. I appreciated that. And yeah, solid voice cast all around. I just thought it was a fun time. So that's why I have TMNT in my 12. And I'm sorry, I have to come clean. I did see more than 12 movies. So yeah, there were other movies below this. What was the other one? Past Lives was not a punt, which cool. I thought this was really well acted. I like the story. It's kind of a romance movie, but not your typical romance movie. I really thought the chemistry between the leads here was really good. Yeah, it was just a big surprise. Like word of mouth, obviously, people were really high on this movie, but it's not like one of those movies that I'm going to gravitate towards. And I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Yeah, just a good screenplay, good acting, and I really dug it. So, Past Lives at 11.
I'll go first. Hopefully, Aaron gets here after I do mine. At least I know at least one of mine. I don't think I do about being a punt. But my number 12 is Taylor Swift The Eras Tour. My 11 is Saw 10, and my 10 is Air.
Air is
I didn't even hear your 11 because I was so mad at your 12. What was your 11?
Saw 10.
I mean, Air. I'm sorry. What was your 10? Air.
Yeah.
It was 10.
I didn't hear 10 either. Yeah, that's a punt.
But yeah, say what you want. Like concert movies still count as movies to me. And I just had a lot of fun with this. Like this is one of those ones that like I'm never going to get the money to go see it at the concert in person. So the fact that I got a chance to see it and experience it in an atmosphere that felt like a concert, it was part of the reason I really enjoyed it as much as I did. Like, I wouldn't say I'm the biggest Taylor Swift fan, but I do really like her music. And just the experience of this alone is what propelled it. But yeah, but moving on. My number 11 is Saw 10. Look, this was a really fun chapter of the Saw movies. This is one I didn't expect to love as much as I did. But it really delves more into the psyche of John Kramer, and I just thought it was a really fun chapter. And we've got Aaron here. Aaron, how's it going? And what is your 12 to 10? Can you hear us?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little bit delayed.
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry. Go. Sorry. Try again.
What is your 12 to 10, Aaron?
I'm still not. Let me drop out. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I'm derailing
no,
the show
all
right now.
good.
Give me a second.
But yeah, while we wait for Aaron to jump back,
So,
just some comments we got in the chat. Chris Stairs was Joyride was out of his top 12 along with Team 6. He was surprised that there was no Punch for Past Lives.
It's a tough, stacked year, Chris.
it's a good year, yeah.
And I mean, it's one of those ones I get that everyone has different opinions when it comes to concert movies. And trust me, I've had a lot of debates about this one specifically in the past week alone. But yeah,
There's so much cinematic greatness of concert film in here. Wow, Taylor Swift. I didn't know my niece was on the Tonight Show.
I respect your opinion, Malcolm.
I don't.
We get that.
I can't do it. I respect you as a human being.
But
this must be how you feel when you post the Florida 100, Jordan.
Yeah, getting heat on the Florida Indies is what I do. I'm just a poet.
But yeah, while we wait for Aaron to get back, I don't know when he's going to jump back in. But JPO, what is your 9 to 6?
Number 9 is where I have Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1. Number 8, I have Talk to Me. Number 7, I have Creed 3. And number 6 is where I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yep, I mean, Talk to Me and Guardians Volume 3 is in that range for me as well. So, yeah.
You should say, now talk to me. Yeah, get it? Yeah, Mission Impossible is like the better version of Fast and Furious, where they just seem to, continually kind of evolve and just come up with great action scenes and sequences, which is kind of what you need, and some great spy, espionage stuff, and that's all I need. And they continue to do it greatly here. And it's probably not even my favorite Mission Impossible, which is saying something that's still in my top 10. Because I just I had a lot of fun here, and this was definitely the year of come back for part 2 between this. Spider-Man, what was it? Rebel Moon. We had a lot of comeback next times this year. Talk to Me, another word of mouth. This time in the horror category here. That was my number 8. Was Talk to Me, and it establishes itself kind of like It Follows, where like the first scene with a different character establishes maybe some of the horror to come. Great slow build. Maybe the fact that it was also kind of unknown actors, I think, kind of helps to it too, because you really are kind of sucked in with the main characters here. I just had a great time here. Probably, it was my favorite.
I'll stop you there for a minute because I realized I should have done this with Mission Impossible.
But
Jacob, you also said Mission Impossible. What are your thoughts about Mission Impossible?
Yeah, I had Mission Impossible at number 10, and this was a franchise that actually earlier this year or earlier last year I forget, we're already in 2024. I'm going to say that a few times, I think. But like I had just finished the franchise leading up to Dead Reckoning for the first time. Like I had seen the first 2, but the other movies in the franchise I hadn't seen. And I instantly was just like, this became one of my favorite franchises, and I was super excited to watch this movie. And yeah, like everything JPO said, it's kind of how I feel. I guess that's why we kind of have them pretty close in our top 10s. I think so his number 9. Just great action. And I say what you want about come back for next time. I don't know. Some people are like, oh, just finish the story. I'm like, I kind of like it. Let's end on a cliffhanger. Let's keep me guessing. I don't mind that. So yeah, great action. Tom Cruise continues to deliver. I hope he's careful. He's getting up there in age, even though he doesn't look it. He's getting up there, and I just really want him to be around for a little while longer. So don't do too many crazy stunts, please.
I talked to me at 7. And yeah, this was one of those ones like I knew nothing going in. And I was just surprised by what I got was I'd barely seen any trailers for this at all. And but it's just one of those horror movies which is just really gripping. It really showed like what you can do on a really low budget. And it's just the fact that these were YouTubers and they turned movie makers. It's just impressive to show sort of what people can do when there's sort of given it stuff to. But JPO, you're 7.
Oh yeah, I was on Creed 3, coming in at number 7 here. Another really tight trilogy we had. This time now Michael B. Jordan was behind the cameras as the cast gets joined by expletive deleted. As his opponent here. The name redacted. And but no, I think the tale of his kind of friend coming back and coming back to his life was just really well done. I think also really good direction as well from B. Jordan here. Weird disappearance of Rocky, not even a reference. Kind of, at least Scream gave you a quick sentence about where Sydney was. This movie made it seem like Rocky didn't even fucking exist. But that's probably my only big takeaway from it, was just that. But alone, again, get the boxing scenes I think were tremendously done, and the performances are great as well. My number 6. Anyone? No, I don't yet. No one was there for Creed. 6 was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Right up there with the first one here. I like the second one, but I think this is right on par with the first one, and emotionally definitely even above the first one here, as we now kind of turn to Rocky Raccoon's story to a large degree here. He's kind of the almost the breakout star here of this third one here, and that's a tremendously well done tale. The new villain here, again, I think Will Poulter's character, I think it's kind of shoehorned in just because they promised him. They're like, oh yeah, we got to put him in this. But even when he's there, he's fun. It's just kind of unnecessary add-on, I felt, because they had promised him. But yeah, I mean, really great seeing these characters again. And the swan song again for these characters. Probably we'll never see this exact group together again. Now that they did a really good job, better than the second one, of balancing kind of the action and humor and heart for Guardians 3.
So everyone had Guardians 3.
Yeah.
It was my number 7.
But Dylan, what are your thoughts about Guardians 3?
Yeah, I had this just outside top 10 at number 11. Again, it's like it was in a top 12 of 100 movies I saw, so it's still in that like upper tier. I really do love it. The first time I watched it, the tonal jarring jumps from like really sad animal stuff to like Drax punching a guy off a motorcycle didn't work as well for me. But the more I've rewatched it, the more I've kind of been able to see a little bit more of the natural transition between tones. That was really the only thing I had against it the first time. Otherwise, like I think it's just a perfect trilogy capper. I think it ends every character's journey in a very satisfying way and puts them in a very satisfying place. And just that final moment where they're all dancing and kind of celebrating together, like that is just some of the best movie making of the year without words, just playing a song and letting these characters just kind of have this final resolution with one another. Just really beautiful. And I think of all like the Marvel films, especially this year, or at least MCU proper, because there's still another Marvel film we'll talk about, but the actual production value I thought was just so much higher in terms of the green screen blending and lighting and everything looked great. The prosthetic makeup looked amazing. It's the record for the highest amount of prosthetics used in a film ever, and the fact that it's not even shortlisted for the for the makeup award at the Oscars is blasphemy in my opinion. But I think the visual effects look great, especially with the animals. So I think this just has a higher caliber in terms of presentation as well compared to a lot of the other MCU films this year, or of the past few years. So I love it. I think it's great.
Jacob, what are your thoughts about Guardians?
Yeah, I thought this was a nice conclusion to this trilogy with these characters and the focus on on Rocket, while sad at times, I thought was a really good choice. Yeah, I can kind of agree the tonal shift from Rocket's backstory to present day. I can see why some people would feel that way, but on the rewatch, I'm like, yeah, it kind of works because if we had just gotten that that backstory all the way through, like, oh my goodness, that I don't know, like, all right, I'm just gonna turn it off now because I just feel I don't even know what I feel. So hopping back and forth like that, I get the decision. And it was just a surprise too because I think everybody was like, all right, who's dying in this one? Somebody's going, somebody's dying, and spoilers, nobody dies. And I was like, oh, cool, Rocket's still alive, and we could possibly get more of him. Drax is still there. I mean, and if Batista wants to come back as a character, I mean, the options at least there. And then I really dug the end too with Peter coming back to Earth, and who knows where his journey is going to go. I think they kind of left it open for some stuff in the future, but just a really solid entry in the MCU. My favorite entry of the MCU for the year. Then again, that wasn't that hard to do this year. So, but still, just a really solid superhero movie in general too. Like it's probably one of my favorite superhero movies of the last few years.
Yeah, like Guardians 3 was that the conclusion I didn't know was going to go the way it did. Like there's so many people going like, oh shit, heavily focusing on Rocket in these trailers, and that it means it's going to be hit. He's going to die. Like, and, I really did like that bait switch, like making us think that someone's going to die and then end up not killing anyone off in the end. It was just really interesting way to do it, and I think the way it ended was just a perfect ending, and it gave and if we don't get any more Guardians movies in the MCU, I think like just leaving it off at that tease, I think was a good way because then it gives them an open to come back if they want, or just leave it as it is. But Dylan, moving on back to you, what is your 9 to 6?
Gotcha. My number 9 is Bottoms. My number 8 is May December. My number 7 is Beyond Utopia. And my number 6 is All of Us Strangers. Cool. Good to talk about. Perfect. Yep. All right. So Bottoms, this was like the surprise comedy of the year for me, just because I think her last film, Emma Seligman's last film, Shiva Baby, was funny, but there was a sense of kind of darkness and drama to it too. Whereas this one was more like full-fledged comedy. It almost felt like something that belonged in like a past era, but that's what I kind of liked about it. Almost gave it like a timelessness to the quality of it. I just think it's really bright, very colorful. The characters are all memorable. The humor hits for me. The needle drops are perfect. I just think the chemistry with all the actors was really there. And it's just a great way to kind of represent LGBT themes in cinema without making it about like coming out or maybe about like the struggles of being gay, but more so just like, oh, you are just characters who are losers and nerds who just happen to be gay. It's like doesn't need to address those themes, and it can instead just be a funny rom-com, high school comedy just with those existing characterizations. So I just thought it was a refreshing new way to tell a story like this with these types of characters, and I laughed a lot in the theater. And Marshawn Lynch is just hilarious in it. Great performance there. Number 8, May December. This is another one that I didn't expect to be what it was, I guess. I knew it was going to be kind of like this satirical, kind of dark comedy, kind of critique of, actors and the way actors kind of infiltrate real life when they're trying to portray real life. But I didn't expect it to take this whole other lens and angle of, this, toxic relationship between an adult and a minor that ended up getting married and having kids. And I think it's just very interesting how it kind of tells that interesting story while also still being an interesting character study of this actress studying another woman. And I think because the movie's about studying different characterizations and characteristics, it's great that you get all these awesome acting moments of Natalie Portman trying to literally become Julianne Moore. It's just a great acting challenge, and Natalie Portman's one of my favorite actresses, so I loved it. And then Charles Melton's character in that movie just broke my heart so much as this person who kind of has been silenced his whole life, and then finally being able to speak up and see what he's been going through and have those moments of catharsis. It's really great, and I hope he wins the Oscar for supporting actor. Number 7 is Beyond Utopia. This is probably one that most people haven't heard of. This is a documentary that came out of Sundance. I saw about a year ago. Madeline Gavin made it. It's about the refugees of North Korea. It's about them fleeing North Korea and trying to basically escape to South Korea. But as most people know, you can't just hop the border. So you have to literally take a boat and then walk through a jungle, and you have to go through Thailand. And like, they explain how it happens. And it's one of the most riveting documentaries I've seen, probably because it doesn't feel like a documentary. Like, there are obviously things where, it very clearly shows footage of different like political events concerning North Korea, but it's mostly centered around like these families trying to cross these borders without getting killed and caught, and also being separated from their families, trying to reconnect to their families. And I think that's what's so riveting, is it almost plays like a political thriller more than it does an actual documentary, kind of like Argo did, like where it feels like it's almost got this documentary feel. Obviously that has real actors, whereas this is real life. And I think that's what makes this even more impressive, is the fact that A, you're telling such a harrowing story, but B, you're also getting this footage of these people crossing these borders. Like, just the fact that they're filming it with cameras is a big risk to their lives, which just makes it such a riveting documentary. I really recommend it. Then number 6 is a movie I actually just saw yesterday, which is All of Us Strangers. Did not expect much from this. It looked like a really good, kind of sad love story between these two men when I was watching the trailer. But then when I was watching the movie, it's more of like a ghost story of, this man trying to move on from the death of his parents, and he instead, as an older man, like goes to visit his parents and has like this relationship with his parents, who he has like kind of reimagined and materialized as, Claire Foy and Jamie Bell. They like play his parents, but he is now older than his parents were when they died. So like, it's this ghost story of him communicating with his parents and learning how to let go of that, while also explore this new relationship with Paul Mescal's character. And I think Andrew Scott is amazing in that movie. So it's one of those movies where I went in expecting just like the straightforward romance, and then it ended up being this whole like supernatural kind of fantastical premise that I was like, wow, this is really super fascinating. It's got probably the best just like dramatic scene work. Every single scene between him and his parents when he's talking about it, because also he's a gay man who never got to come out to his parents because he died when he was the parents died when he was 12. So it's about how he's also trying to like tell his parents who he really is, because they never got to know him. And it's kind of like the self-reflective thing of the director to be like, I never got to tell my parents this, and this is my way of showing that through cinema. And I love when like movies can kind of show the director's own point of view and life story in their work. So it's one that definitely caught me off guard and surprised me so much. The ending, I think, is pretty lousy, but the rest of the movie is so good that the ending didn't bother me too much, to where it just stayed out of my top 5. But if the ending had really stuck the landing, it's probably my number 2 or 3 of the year. It's that good. So I definitely recommend it. It just came out, so obviously it's very new, but it was in limited release around Christmas, and now it's finally in wide release. So I recommend it.
That's only you, Steve Mason, Bowen Yang from SNL on Letterboxd have seen it. So yeah, nice.
But Jacob, what is your 9 to 6?
Yeah, so my number 9 is going to be Blackberry. My number 8, I know this is going to be a punt from JPO. My number 8 is Wonka.
It's a punch.
It's not a punt for me.
My number 7 was Guardians 3. And then number 6, I have Oppenheimer.
That's a
punt. Yeah, I figured that one would be. But yeah, Blackberry. So Blackberry at number 9. JPO mentioned this was the year of Come Back Next Time. It was also the year of based on the true story, based on the product, and I think this one, along with another one where it was one of my favorites from the year. I think because I think it's like The Social Network for BlackBerry, but not quite as good as The Social Network. I'll take The Social Network over it. I'm not saying they're on par. I'm just saying the similarities are there. But yeah, this was a big surprise. It wasn't really on my radar, but a couple of friends had mentioned it. Like, oh, it's really good. You gotta check it out. Jay Baruchel, like, might be his best performance. And I could agree with that. I think Jay Baruchel, like, it's not a performance where I'm used to seeing from him. He's kind of, usually in these comedies, or, of course, I know him best from the How to Train Your Dragon trilogy, because that's just one of the best trilogies of the 2010s. But yeah, and then Glenn Howerton, I think he steals the show every time he's on screen, and it's just a really fun, well, not fun, but it's a really, really good movie about, like, the rise of this product and then kind of the downfall as well. And yeah, just a really interesting story that I didn't really know much about. So yeah, and I'm pretty sure they reference the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the movie as well, so that's always a plus.
But they don't reference Splinter.
But they don't reference Splinter. No, that's only JPO and I know what that means. And Tez, he's not here.
Yeah, but I think that's the only one that hasn't been talked about that you can talk about. My back.
Was Wonka a punt for someone?
Yeah, it was me.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that.
But for me, this is probably still a punt. At my number 9 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Still a punt.
My number 8 we've already talked about is Guardians Volume 3. My number 7 we've already talked about is Talk to Me. My number 6 is Missing.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like I really loved searching, and this is one of those ones it's like, how are they going to replicate that same concept again, and make it seem just interesting? Well, the Missing, it was one of those ones I managed to. This is one I actually rewatched recently because, like, I wanted to see if it still held up, and it definitely still held up for me. And it's one of those ones, like, and I like the fact that they changed it up slightly, where it was the kid trying to figure out what was going on for mother and all that. And it's just a really interesting story, and it's and I'm not going to give away any spoilers here, because I think this is one of those ones that really works if you don't find out, like, in the twists and turns and all that beforehand. And yeah, it's just one of those ones I think the concept really worked, and especially the way they updated all the apps and stuff they used to stuff that people are still using now, and all that, and it's a really fun movie, and it's one of those ones, like, I hope they do another one that they find a new way to do it once again, so that it just doesn't seem so sort of stagnant and kill out this style of filmmaking.
What could be the third one? Looking or
Seeking.
Seeking.
It's about digging naps.
But, I mean, I also do like the fact they did throw in some, like, connect it to searching by showing various bits and pieces from, like, that, and I think they even hinted at that one movie as well, with Sarah Paulson at one point too. But moving into the top 5, and also just very quickly, unfortunately, Aaron's computer wasn't cooperating with him, so he's not going to be able to join us in the end. But moving into the top 5s, JP, what is your top number 5?
My number 5 is Air, the Ben Affleck classic. My number 4 is John Wick Chapter 4.
Right.
One at a time, yo.
What happened?
One at a time now.
One at a time.
Right. I forgot that we're doing that now. Yeah, damn.
Oopsie. That's good to know, though, because when I do my number 5, I'll know it's a punt.
But Dylan, what is your number 5?
This is going to be a punt for everyone. It's a French film called The Taste of Things. I'm just kidding.
Punt.
I can talk about it now, Malcolm, or no? Should I wait?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if we were all going to say 5. So yeah, this is a small little French film. It's actually the one that the Oscars are the one that was selected for the Oscars for France. And I know there was a lot of controversy because people were like, "Oh, Anatomy of a Fall, Anatomy of a Fall." I will say I like this way better than that. I like Anatomy of a Fall a lot, but I think this is even stronger. I'm a big foodie, and this past year I went through a really terrible loss. My aunt passed away, and she was a big foodie. She's one of the people that like made me fall in love with cooking and the art of culinary cuisine, whatever. If you liked the movie Pig from a few years ago, I think you'll like this one. It's very much about food and connection of food and love through food. Love it, like food as a love language. It's about these two cooks who live in this like French countryside, and they the first scene is literally this like 20-minute scene of them just cooking this elaborate, gorgeous, classic French banquet dinner for all these people. And as the film goes along, you start to see that these two kind of have a little bit of a history, but they've never really committed their relationship to one another. But then when one of them falls ill, they decide that they want to kind of celebrate the last few months with each other, kind of devoting themselves to one another. And they do this really amazing kind of first date scene where he cooks for her and there's this beautiful dinner, and it's really just about really nothing more than just a connection between two people. It's almost like a slice of life film, but it's got this beautiful edge to it because it's so ingrained in the food and culinary world. Like, they don't give gifts to one another, they don't give presents to one another, they give food to one another. And you see how like food can be a symbol of love in that way. And I just really connected to it personally because of that. And the ending, where it goes and what it has to say about legacy and the way you honor people who have come and gone and the people you love through food. It's just a beautiful, beautiful message. And I think just the way it's shot too, it makes this food more appetizing looking than any food that has ever been captured in film. Like, it really is just shot with such an amazing, whatever they did to shoot this film is just so appetizing. I hate, it's a weird word to use when you're talking about movies, but it's one of those films where you can taste the food without having to actually eat it, just by looking at it, and it's going to make you very hungry. So don't go in on an empty stomach. But that's my number 5, just because I also have that personal connection with my aunt that just really made me love this film and kind of realize how important certain things like food are in terms of building connection. I have a lot of memories of my childhood that I can connect to food, and whether it be my grandma's cooking or my nana's cooking or my mom's cooking or my aunt's, I was able to really pull a lot of those memories from watching this movie. So The Taste of Things, I recommend it. It's great.
Jacob, what is your number 5 that's totally not going to be a punch?
My number 5 is John Wick Chapter 4.
Punt.
My number 5 is definitely going to be a punt. My number 5 is Oppenheimer.
Punt.
Yep. JPO, what is your number 4?
John Wick Chapter 4.
I think that might be the highest score.
We can talk about John Wick. Yeah. Damn, man. Talk about what a surprise a few years ago when that trailer came out like a month before the movie came out. And you're like, all right, cool. Keanu Reeves, whatever. It just became the surprise of the year. And it's another, what do you call it, 4 movies? A quadrilogy? Or what's the word for it? Yeah, there you go. And again, it's a solid one all over. And like, because now this is the final chapter, at least in this exact kind of like story, there's even more meat on the bone here, man. And you are absolutely invested until the very end, to the final scene with him in the high table, throwing a little bit of Donnie Yen, no problem there. Bill Skarsgård, even though I felt like, they're kind of having a new villain for the 4th one, they make him work absolutely, so you're ready for potential comeuppance at the end here. And again, man, if you just want literal bang for your buck, this is the franchise to go to, and this did not disappoint.
Who else had John? I think
it was me.
Dylan and Jacob.
Yeah, I had it lower. I had it number 12, but it still made my list, and I love it for all the reasons you said, JPO. Like, it's one of the biggest surprises of the year, like you said. Like, I went into it loving the John Wick franchise, but not really expecting any of them to be like one of the best action movies I've ever seen necessarily. But this one was just so well done. Just the innovation of the tracking shot where they're looking overhead of the the fight sequence, the one take, and then the stuff on the stairs, the stuff in the circle. The circle with all the cars and stuff. Like, just the inventiveness is so great that you almost forget about the great stuff that happened in acts 1 and 2, because that last finale is so packed. Like, the first act, that whole all the Dunyan stuff in the second act. The one with what's his name? I forget his name, but the guy with all the prosthetic makeup with the cards, at the nightclub and stuff. Like everything is just so good in that movie. The only thing is I haven't seen it since it came out, and other movies are just fresher on my brain. That's why it landed low. But like I want to rewatch this. I need to find the time. I have it right here, but I need to find the time to actually sit down and commit 3 hours to watching it again. But I've done the same for one of my higher movies on the list too, which is also 3 hours. So I will find the time for it. But it's great.
And Jacob, what are your thoughts about John?
Yeah, it's. I'm glad you brought up the 3 hour runtime because that was the thing going into it. I'm like, does this need to be 3 hours? Do we really need a 3 hour action movie? Are they going to go more story driven here? No, it's just really action heavy, and it delivers on every single action scene here. I like the introduction of these new characters at Donnie Yen. I think if they want to continue this franchise with spin-offs with him, I'm all for that. Like I want to know more about his character. But yeah, like everything they said are my thoughts. Just action, and I think it's just one of the best action movies I've seen in recent memory. If you can commit 3 hours, like this is not a bad way to spend 3 hours. So yeah, I thought this movie was great.
I mean, I believe Taste of Things is about 4 hours, isn't it, Dylan?
No, so Taste of Things is only, I think, around 2. You're thinking of there's another documentary which is about
the 4 hour documentary.
Yeah, there's a 4 hour documentary that I actually saw the same day as Taste of Things at New York Film Festival. That is 4 hours long. It's called Menus Plaisir Les Trois Gras. It's like a French culinary, like fine dining restaurant. It's almost like a, I don't want to say like Gordon Ramsay because he's much more like loud and but it's like kind of like that. You're a fly on the wall of this like very prestigious kitchen. That one's 4 hours, which is a long sit, but I like that one too.
Anyway, Dylan, what is your number 4?
My number 4. I'm on number 4. It's getting some Best Picture buzz. It is Poor Things by Yorgos Lanthimos. Cool. I'll talk about it now. It is just another one that surprised me. I love Yorgos Lanthimos. I love The Favorite. I love The Lobster. I love Killing of a Sacred Deer. But I never really expected this to be as much of a favorite of mine as it was, especially because I won't bring it up too much because I know it might come up on other people's list, but like Barbie being such a big film, with these feminist themes and this character learning how to kind of break out of this bubble she's been living in for so long and learn how to have her own thoughts and ideas. I was like, this film almost feels like just kind of a raunchier, scarier sci-fi version of that. But the thing is, I think it's a much better version of that just because it's so much, for me at least, it just spoke to me so much more on the tonal balances and the way it was so interestingly shot. It almost feels like Burton-esque or something of like the French New Wave. Like there's all these colors and weird fish lenses. It's a weird movie, but I loved it so much. It's a spin on the Frankenstein thing of, they implant the brain of a baby, the brain of a baby for a mother kills herself. She's pregnant. They take the brain of the baby that's still alive and implant it in the dead corpse of the mother to create this like Frankenstein monster hybrid thing. And it's kind of an effed up premise, but then you see how along the movie she kind of learns how to be more independent as a woman. And because she is so innocent, you start to see how men specifically take advantage of her in this society. And I think it's just such a great commentary about that. Not just sheltered children who need to learn how to like break free of their parents' grip, but also just being a woman in a certain society and the way people fetishize you or objectify you and the way you break through that. It's really amazing. The second act it goes off on a little too long, but the final act, the way it sticks the landing and has some really great horror beats. I think it's really great film. I would love to see it at least get nominated for Best Picture, which I think it will, but it could win. It's getting some buzz as one of the top contenders, and it very well might, for good reason. I love it. Chris says spoiler alert, but it's like the first 2 minutes you see the whole surgery of the baby thing. I promise I'm not.
I mean, it's also based on a book. If you read the premise of the book,
right. And it's also in the trailer. Like I promise. Yeah. It's not a spoiler, but I'm sorry if I spoiled the basic premise.
But Jacob, what is your number 4?
My number 4. This is where I have Air.
I think this is the highest it goes.
All right. Anything having to deal with basketball is going to, earn favor for me. I love the sport. It's my favorite sport. I say as I have football on in the background.
Cheater.
But no, it was when they said they were going to do a story about the creation of the shoe. I was on board because I kind of love these behind the scenes movies when it comes to sports. Draft Day, Moneyball, just another couple examples. I think those are really well done too. And yeah, just what a great cast of characters here: Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Jason Bateman, Chris Tucker, Viola Davis. She steals every scene that she's in. I think she shines. I think this movie hasn't been talked about as much recently. With when it comes to like Oscar buzz. But if Viola Davis sneaks in there, you're not going to hear any complaints from me. I think she's incredible in just the short time she's in. And then I think Chris Tucker. Haven't seen much from him, but he's great in the few scenes he's in. And yeah, I loved kind of the backstory of how this shoe was created and how nobody thought Nike stood a chance. It's kind of an underdog story too in that way. And yeah, I think Ben Affleck's direction is really good. Thank goodness he had this one, and Hypnotic was not his only output for the year because but we can talk about that on another show.
It might be my number one, Jacob.
Oh, well, if it is, I apologize. But no, I think Matt Damon is incredible. I think if this movie had come out just a little later in the year, maybe some of these performances would get talked about a little bit more. I'm not saying like any of them should be not. I think they deserve to be in the conversation though. Is my thing. I think they deserve to be considered. But again, I might just be a little biased because I love the sport of basketball and kind of these behind the scenes, based on a true story product, whatever. I've just kind of been digging them. I think they've been doing a lot of good ones lately. So, Air, I think knocked it out of the park. Or no, Air was a slam dunk. Sorry, basketball reference.
But yeah, I had Air at 10. And yeah, it's one of those ones like, as much as I love Air, I think it's a great movie. It's one of those ones like, I think if it had come out later in the year, I think it would definitely still be in the talk for Oscars. I think at this point, Viola Davis is probably their only shot to maybe sneak in there. Because I think it's largely been forgotten about, especially with the awards votes, especially for all the other like Oscar movies that have been coming out in that last part of the year. But I love the movie. I feel it's great. This is one of those ones I mean, just like, yeah, it's a bit of shoe. I'm probably not going to be interested in it. I had no frame of reference for Air Jordan. I knew it was a shoe. I knew it was endorsed by Michael Jordan. That's all I knew. I did not know anything else about it. But yeah, JPO, what was your thoughts about Air?
Yeah, this is just one spot I think below Jacob had at number 5. Yeah. No, I mean I was sold like Jacob from the word Ben Affleck. I'm a huge Ben Affleck guy, and now knowing he was at the director chair, it's kind of like you, Malcolm. Like I'm not totally sold on the premise. I'm not against it, but I'm not totally sold either. But I went this up Ben Affleck was at the chair, and the cast he had, man. I'm a sucker for just a good screenplay, a great cast. Like I'm kind of sold from there, and you have that going on all the folds here. I just looked up too the writer Alex Convery. Like it looks like it's his first screenplay. So fuck you. What a good first screenplay for you. Ben Affleck again, 4 out of 5 of his movies have just been on bangers in my opinion. And yeah, man, I think Damon's great. Bateman, Chris Messina's great as the foul mouth agent.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it just everyone's here to play. And again, even like credit too, like even when you kind of know the end of the story, spoilers, and you're still that much like invested, I think it goes to show how good of a screenplay and performances are when you're like, will he pull it off? Will they sign him? You know? Yeah, I think a lot.
What, they didn't sign him?
Did you have Air?
I didn't, but I agree with everything you guys have said. It's great.
I kind of have a bit something to make a joke. It's like, I like it. It helps you breathe.
Right. I like Air. I wouldn't be here without it.
There's a movie called The Air I Breathe with Brendan Fraser.
But anyway, my number 4 is most definitely going to be a punt. everyone here has seen it, but it's the New Zealand movie called Uproar.
Absolutely.
um,
I work for Uproar Wrestling. I don't know what it is.
but yeah, and I'm gonna pull and yes, I am pulling a Barack Obama's lot. I may be biased because I am actually in the movie as well as a
Whoa! Hey, I nominated
but-
Hunter X, the horror movie on YouTube that I was in, as
Look,
the
if you've
top
seen
12
Barack
last
Obama's
year.
top 10 movies, then you'll get that reference. Because at least 3 of the movies he had are movies that he was somewhat involved in.
Oh.
But that aside, like Up was a really like a movie that I didn't think I'd love as much as I did, but it was just a really good story about this teenager growing up in the 80s, and like this was about the time where there was all these um riots about like race because it was when South Africa was doing their famous tour about through New Zealand, which had a whole lot of riots and stuff and all that. I know you guys probably have no idea what I'm talking about with those as well, unless you really know your New Zealand history. But it's a fun story. And if it ever gets released in America, which I believe they are, the creators are looking to get it out there, then give it a shot. Whether or not you like it, I'm not worried. But it's a fun movie. Like, and it's one of those ones like it really sold me that Julian Dennison could actually be a lead actor and be really good at it. But yeah, um, but yeah, JPO, what is your number 3?
Let's see. I got The Holdovers at number 3.
Hunt.
Dylan, what is your number 3?
My number 3, it was my number 1 when we did the top 10 in June, Malcolm. It's Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, which I don't think anyone else has, but it is one of those films that, Malcolm and I think on Gone with the Wind, did like our top 10 of 2023 so far back in June, and it was my number 1, and I was like, it's gonna hold maybe in my top 10, maybe it'll slip down to like my top 20 throughout the year, but it's really stuck up there, just because I think it's just such a sweet but also very thoughtful exploration, not just of coming of age, which usually in coming of age films you see high schoolers or you see like little kids. Like you never get like sixth grade, I feel like, in a lot of like coming of age films, or seventh grade. I feel like it's always like a little later in life. So I like how it showed kind of like a little bit earlier side of coming of age. And then also just religion and the way it explores the fact that her dad is Jewish, her mom is Christian, and how her mom marrying a Jewish guy kind of put a riff in her mother and her grandparents' lives, and how they kind of lost a little bit of connection. And I love the way it explores that religious aspect of this girl who's trying to just figure it out and try to figure out, is there a right way to go? Is there a way I want to go? Do I even want a religion? Really great, thoughtful conversations without being preachy either way, which I was worried, when there's a film all about God, you're not sure if it's going to be preachy or not, but I like how it's, it's me, Margaret. That's funny.
That's why I laughed. For the record, that
Yes,
is why
no,
I
no.
laughed.
I'm just
I
reading the
wasn't out
comments
there.
now. It's great.
It's a me, Margaret.
No, but it's great how like it doesn't really pass judgment either way. It says like, this is why people do this. This is why people do this, and you can choose, or you can do neither, or you can do both. It's very open minded in that sense, and I just like that. But also just very well made. Great screenplay. The humor's great. My mom was very fond of the book as a kid. I never read the book, but I know it's a great adaptation just from hearing what she had to say about it. It's really well acted, especially when kids can act. It's always a great surprise for me because a lot of kids can't. That's not to be critical. It's just, they're so young, they don't know necessarily, but these kids like are acting like real adults who like, have been acting for years and years and years. It's a little girl who played Ant-Man's daughter, plays the lead in this. So I just really, really liked it. I thought it was really great. And it's been a film that I've still like come back to, and it's lingered on my brain toward the end of the year. So it's here in my top 3.
But Jacob, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is The Iron Claw.
Nice.
And yeah, no, this was a movie. I knew as a wrestling fan, I know who the Von Erichs are. I've seen, some of their stuff, but didn't really dive in to the tragic backstory. Like I said, knew of it. but man, I didn't know this movie was going to get as heavy as it was, especially in that final hour. Like the first hour, I'm like, all right, this is like it was like your basic sports biopic. I feel, nothing wowing me here, but good performances from Zac Efron and the bear. I forget his name right now. Jeremy Allen White, I believe. I think they did really good. And I think the wrestling scenes. Shout out to Chavo Guerrero. I think he was the wrestling consultant, like choreographer on the movie. So yeah, I think he did a really good job preparing these guys. And there was a clip. I guess Zac Efron did that. Nice, JPO. Zac Efron like did the what's it called? The what's the move called?
Crossbody.
That
Crossbody.
Crossbody. He crossbody. It wasn't a body slam. He did the crossbody like 20 times, just to get it right. So shout out to them for like taking the wrestling serious as well. But man, yeah, that last hour was heavy, and I don't know how I would have responded if they included the other brother that wasn't even in the movie. So man, but it was. I think it was really well done. I think the wrestling scenes, were excellent, but it kind of takes a back burner to just the story in general and just kind of the lives of these people. I think if you're a wrestling fan, I think I could see why some people might be divisive on this, as far as wrestling fans go. But if you like a good biopic and you want to just not feel good for a couple hours after you watch the movie, this is the movie for you. But man, again, with performances, I think Zac Efron, I think he needs to be discussed. I don't know if he's one of the 5, but I think he needs to be discussed because I think he was excellent in this movie, and shout out to him for bulking up too. Like what a transformation.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I think there's a good chance he could get a little bit of buzz later because he's got a few bit of love in the on the critics groups and stuff, so that he might be able to get some love on. We'll find out when SAG comes out next.
It pains me I haven't seen this. I'm gonna see it Wednesday.
Nice.
Yeah. I was about to say, it's like out of everyone here, I was for sure you would.
So when you see it, you'll have to come back and.
Month's been a bad theater month.
So when you see it, you'll have to come back and tell us where in the top 10 it is.
Let's redo this list.
That's like me and Aquaman too. I need to see. I was gonna see it for this list because I think it's gonna be my number 1, but I haven't seen it yet.
I don't know if it's gonna be.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, as I said in the chat, like it doesn't come out here until January the 16th, so I wouldn't be. I can't see it even if I wanted to until then. And even Holdovers is out next. I'll finally be able to see that next week. But anyway, moving on to my number 3. It's Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. This is I'm big on like fantasy movies in general, but I've also really big on Dungeons and Dragons, and this is one of those ones like when I went to see it, was like I knew I had to see it again, and so I knew my brother would have liked it as well. So we went there together, and yeah, it was just a lot of fun. Just seeing them bring a lot of these spells and monsters that I'm familiar with to the screen, and it was, and even the cast I think was really good, and they all worked well together. And the fact that they all played like Dungeons and Dragons before to flesh out their characters, I think it was a really good way to make sure it all really worked. It was just a lot of fun, and yeah, this is one that I'm probably going to watch a lot. It's probably going to end up in my top movies of all time eventually. JP, I believe you also had it, but
yeah, this was right on the cusp for me. This is my number 12. This also I talked about it with Jacob the other day. Maybe like my nominee for like surprise of the year as well, just because this is technically a reboot from the failed 2000 movie with Marlon Wayans and Jeremy Irons, at least Jeremy Irons is having some fun, or at least just throwing it out there, balls to the wall. and not well reviewed, not well liked movie. And yeah, and it's not necessarily fantasy. Is again not necessarily a genre that I gravitate towards nor against either. So I was just on the fence, but the laughs are there, the thrills are there. We kind of like we mentioned before with Guardians, like any kind of CGI that gets done relatively well. Hugh Grant's become one of my favorite like co-actors in these last few years. Even though I feel like he just does it for the money, he at least tries when he's on set. From what interviews I've seen, but he's definitely trying when at least the cameras are rolling. And yeah, man, I mean, I think like I said, there's some from the skeletons to the Bradley Cooper cameo to the great little fun cast they got going here. Justice Smith, even Michelle Rodriguez, kind of seen a slightly different side of her. It was fun than we've seen it in several years. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. Yeah.
And it was funnier than I thought it was going to be. Like there's a
it
lot
is.
of humor in here.
That's what I mean. Like I laugh, like the kind of bookends with the jail and how they trying to get out. It's kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to say the name just in case it's coming up on somebody else's list, but it's probably, even though it's only a small cameo for Bradley Cooper, it's probably my favorite Bradley Cooper movie of the year. But JP, what is your number 2?
Number 2, I have this Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Nope.
Bump it.
Dylan, what is your number 2?
My number 2 is The Holdovers.
It's my number 2.
Yay.
You can talk about it.
Oh, we can talk about it. Sorry. I forget how this works. I was just excited. I love The Holdovers. I think it's great. Alexander Payne's a director I've just always clicked with. Nebraska, great movie. The Descendants, probably my favorite movie of that year, maybe, next to Harry Potter, maybe. I love Alexander Payne's work, and I think he just assembled the best cast for this. The fact that Dominic Sessa had never acted in anything before and gives a performance like this is just incredible. He's my favorite of the 3. But Paul Giamatti himself is also great. And obviously Divine Joy Randolph, who should and probably will win the Oscar for it. It's just one of the best trios assembled this year, next to probably Past Lives, as Jacob mentioned. Just great trios that work off one another so well. It just got that. And I think aside from just the performances, the writing is so clever, so great. It's got this timeless quality, being kind of set in the 70s. It feels like it's made in the 70s, but it still relates now. It still plays well now to where I think it's going to be enjoyed 50 years from now. So I think it has this kind of timeless quality because it's kind of set in a specific time period, if that makes sense. And yeah, it's just a great Christmas movie as well. And I love Christmas movies. I love the kind of warm, cozy feeling it gives. I know Alexander Payne was pissed off in articles that people were calling it cozy, but it gives you that feel. It makes you feel good, despite it dealing with some dark, heavy shit. I mean, it does ultimately come around to being about these characters being there for one another, which is kind of like the epitome of a Christmas film, or what Christmas film are the best Christmas films do. So I think it's amazing. I'll let these guys talk about it because I know they love it too. But it's definitely one of my favorites of the year. Had my number 1 not come out this year.
Jacob?
Yeah, I'm going to echo everything that Dylan said. It's just a shame that Cillian Murphy did Oppenheimer, because I think if he didn't, this would be Paul Giamatti's award to lose, because I think he's incredible in this movie. But and who knows? We could be surprised. Maybe I'm going to hold out hope, because I loved Paul Giamatti's performance here, and just the growth of his character throughout the movie as well. Like from where we see him at the beginning to where he is at the end. I mean, no, I'm not going to spoil anything because it's still relatively recent. But yeah, just where his character goes, I think was really cool. And yeah, I'm gonna agree with the best supporting actress. I think it's hers to lose. I think she is incredible. And yeah, Dominic Sessa, his first movie. If you would have told me that, I'd be like, no, it's not. You're a liar. But no, he does a really good job. And yeah, I really dig the story here. The setting, the time period, it all works. And now that it's on Peacock, I'm probably gonna watch it several more times.
So was Dominic Sessa in anything before this, or was it this?
I just looked up. He's like a short film, maybe from 2021, but I think that's about it.
Yeah, it's his first feature, and he might have done some stage
the feature.
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, full on, major, for sure.
But JPO, what are your thoughts about the holdovers?
Yeah, man. No, I'm just right behind you at number 3 here. I mean, I literally remember seeing other friends of ours and stuff saying this might be the best movie of the year, and literally walking in with that expectation, like we'll see, and then being like, oh, I see why they said it. This might be my favorite Alexander Payne movie, and I agree that he's made pretty much his whole filmography is pretty good. This might be, I think, to me, easily my favorite, which I think is saying something because again, I like his other movies here, but I just loved everything about it here. I've always been a Paul Giamatti fan. Um, he's the perfect guy to cast as this character because he walks that perfect line of the asshole, but you're still really ready to watch him and see things, and the way it grows between the characters here. You guys already mentioned Divine. She's broken out before, but my God, how good is she in this? And I think other people have said it before, but like you're almost like your heart is so warmed at that fucking final handshake. Like it's a handshake, and you're just like, oh, the most earned handshake of all time. And yeah, it's good stuff, man. It really is. It was just such, and I did too. I think it came out at the right time. I feel as well. Like yeah, and like I think if you watch it around that time period, I think it might have even added to that. And yeah, I love this thing to pieces. It's a great film, and that's what's hard to rank about this too, because like honestly, if you say it's number 2, number 1, I get it because like my top 5 I think is all pretty different. So it's really just a matter of what your cup of tea is because this is fantastic movie.
Yeah, yeah. For me, my number 2 is Barbie. And this is one of those movies that I didn't expect to love as much as I did. This is one I went in thinking, oh yeah, it's going to be this movie about Barbie that I'm probably not going to connect to a lot because obviously I've never played with the dolls or had no film reference to anything Barbie before. But I didn't expect the story that I got, and just seeing this whole like Barbie having an existential crisis and all that, and going to find the person that play it's just one of those ones I think it really connected to me weirdly, and it's just one of those ones I think it's great. And I know there's a lot of people that's like really tuned out when it gets to a certain scene in the movie, with the whole speech and all that. But for me, I think it was I thought that scene was really powerful, and I think is one, and I think it really worked, and just um and just I want to say it's Clovis Leachman, one o'clock. See the Clovis Leachman Real Perlman, that was like the creator of Barbie at the end of the I know it was one of the actresses that passed last year.
Oh, at the end, I think it's Ray Perlman. I don't think she passed though, did she?
It's I don't know anymore. Yeah, Rhea Perlman. Bullshit. Now just put that into ether. Real ignore what I just said. But yeah, having Rhea
Malcolm killing off actresses. All right.
But yeah, yeah. Thanks for confirming that, Carol. Now I'm right if it happens tomorrow, I'm to blame. But anyway, and yeah, but I thought it was just a really powerful movie to start to finish. Even the music was a lot of fun. Like I'm Just Ken is such a great song. And yeah,
Shout out Matchbox 20.
yeah, and yeah,
Is that who like wrote it?
No,
No,
they
no,
perform one of their songs throughout the movie.
No.
yeah, they performed. Yeah, it was. I think it was Push, I believe.
Push, yeah.
Yeah. But with that, before we go into our number ones, we're going to go do some honorable mentions. JPO, what are some honorable mentions that you had?
How many you want me to give?
I mean, just don't give all the. I mean, give about five.
All right, fine. That's what I mean.
We've actually got time. So
no, it's all good. I just wanted a number. I don't want to overdo it. No, 2 that has been mentioned already. I'm with you with Barbie and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadow. You and Jacob mentioned, yeah, they're right on the cusp there. A lot of fun those 2.
Hold on, before you go any further, Out of the Shadows, no. Mutant Mayhem, yes.
Oh, Yeah, not Out of the Shadows. Well, I saw Out of the Shadows this year. I just thought we were talking about. Yeah, sorry, I'm being mayhem. I'm being mayhem. Out of the Shadows will not be.
It was a re-release.
Yeah. I finally found it at the Dollar Tree, so I thought it counted. Other ones, it still holds over, and it's one of those you can maybe fight and say it's 2022. But Man Called Otto with Tom Hanks, man, I don't know. I'm a big Hanks fan. I thought this was a great performance from him, and I was really charmed by Man Called Otto. Nimona, animated flick on Netflix, I thought was great. Looks great. Great message beneath it too, and that one was really dope. And another surprise / great movie, Gran Turismo, did a lot more for me than I thought it would be. Yeah, when I went in with kind of whatever expectations, like, oh, it's probably gonna look cool as Neil Blomkamp, but I put together a really good film.
Dylan, what is about 5 honorable mentions?
Yeah, the one that just missed out before I saw All of Us Strangers yesterday was Sofia Coppola's Priscilla. It's probably my favorite film of hers. I think it's just such an interesting counter to the Elvis movie we got last year. Creed 3 was on the list. Talk to Me. Rye Lane, a really underrated romantic comedy from earlier this year that I think people have forgotten about. Beau is Afraid. I dug it. I know it's weird. I dug it. The Color Purple, just such a good adaptation. Godzilla -1, really great. Killers of the Flower Moon, obviously Scorsese, great. And then the biggest surprise of the year for me was The Hunger Games: Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Did not expect to like it as much as I did, but I really did. So
he did more than 5. You told me 5. He did
oh, did I not do? Sorry, I think I did like 6.
Jacob. Well, then I'm gonna do 6. Dumb Money was good too.
Jacob, what is 6 honorable mentions?
Well, then I'll do 6. Yeah, just outside my top 12 was Barbie. I think Maestro was really good. I think Carey Mulligan gives arguably the performance of the year. I think she's incredible. Missing was a big surprise. I was surprised how long it's stayed around in my top 10 until towards the end of the year. Still, the Michael J. Fox documentary was really, really good. And then Scream 6 was another one that just missed out. And I always like to shout out one of these. Last time I was doing the top 12, I shouted out Bo Burnham's Inside. Mike Birbiglia's The Old Man in the Pool. If you like stand-up specials, this is a really good one because he's more of a storyteller than he is like a stand-up comedian, and it's really, really good. So I would check that out. It's on Netflix if you want to check it out.
Inside was 2021 though, by the way. I just want to.
Yeah, I know. That's the last time I did.
He was on the
end of the year top 12. That's what I was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah, the last time I was on one of these, I shouted a special out. I'll probably do that the next time.
Oh, you're referencing it.
Yeah. It's okay. I'm confused sometimes.
I was half listening.
What?
But for me, I'm going to try and focus on ones that haven't appeared on the list. Like for me, just outside, the Hulu movie Quiz Lady was just out. Like there was a lot of really surprising me. Another big surprise was the animated movie Leo. Sandler's like new animated movie. It was just
takes place where I live.
If I had $1 for every time you mentioned that.
What would you have? $3? I haven't said it that much.
About 4 or 5, yeah.
Go buy a sandwich.
But yeah, it was all for me. It was actually a really good year for interesting horror movies because I also like Megan was just outside of my top 12, and the Eli Roth Thanksgiving was also down there. Both of them had a lot of fun with it. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I really enjoyed A Haunting in Venice. I thought it was fun. But yeah. But JP,
Megan might be my surprise of the year. I saw that trailer and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is going to be terrible," and then it was a lot of fun.
It met my expectations.
Yeah,
you aren't the only one. I also really enjoyed. I also enjoyed it.
I'm okay with it. I think some people are underrating it, but I wouldn't anywhere put it in my top 12.
I mean,
I love Destiny.
Look, have you ever seen an episode of Aaron's show where they talked about movies? Like there's one where people were saying how much they liked Dog Destiny. Austin was just going really mad, muted in the background.
Yeah, like it's nowhere near my bottom 10 either, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know. Austin really hates it, but JPO, what is your number one of the year?
We got Oppenheimer as my number one. Uh, yeah, I just I love Christopher Nolan, another guy that I don't think has made a bad film yet, but I do think occasionally, like with Tenet and Dunkirk, sometimes it's style over substance. But this time, I think he nailed the perfect balance here. Absolutely engaged in everything that's going on here. Again, he got such a tremendous cast. Even people that are just in like minute roles, like you got freaking Josh Peck, Josh Hartnett had a good year this year. My boy David Krumholtz. Michael Negrano's in it for like a minute, but then like the people that have more meteor stuff, Robert Downey Jr. is great, much deserved to be talked about a little bit here. Of course, my boy Matty D also having a tremendous year between this and Air. Matty D is having a great year. My girl Florence Pugh, she's fantastic in this, and then of course Cillian Murphy, who again another guy who I've been a fan of for a long time, and I'm happy to see lead. Obviously, a favorite of Nolan is Nolan's casted him in pretty much everything, and usually in a supporting part. So I'm glad he was able to get him in the lead this time. Yeah, and again, just the style is on par, the performances are on par. Beautiful looking, interesting tale too. You know what I mean? Hey, it might have helped that I was ignorant towards the actual backstory of it, so I was engaged the full way. And yeah, I just think it's fantastic filmmaking. Definitely something too worth seeing on the big screen. This you should have went out of your way for. If you haven't, then find the biggest TV you can, dim the lights, and yeah, just enjoy some good filmmaking.
Don't know what are your thoughts about Oppenheimer.
Well, it is also my number one. I love it so much. Yeah, like JPO listed off that cast. It's just so stacked, so amazing. Like that cast is just terrific. Every part, every bit part, every big part has such a big effect on the story. And this movie, for being 3 hours, I never felt the length. And if I ever did, it's because I liked feeling the length. I was like, oh, I could just like sit with this for 6 more hours or whatever. It was never like, okay, when's this wrapping up? Because they do such a good job, just kind of like the kind of test of the bomb itself, just kind of letting it run and just it's always going. It's always this tumultuous effect. Once it goes off, the world is changed forever, and they kind of like light that fuse at the beginning of the movie when Niels Bohr, played by Kenneth Branagh, turns to him and he says, "Can you hear the music, Robert?" And then cut to this amazing shot of the mountains with the music, and then from that moment to like the end of the film, the music barely ends, and I think the music helps so much in making it kind of go by as quick as it does and keep the pacing going, because it almost feels like one giant scene as opposed to a bunch of other little scenes in between. There are moments where the music cuts out, but those are very purposeful. I just think it's one of the best, most perfectly stylized films. It's a movie that when I went in, I was like, well, kind of the same thing with what JPO said. Like Nolan hasn't, the last few Nolan movies like Tenet and Dunkirk, I haven't loved. So I was like, this is going to be okay. I haven't loved all his historical stuff. And then I left it being like, no, this is his best movie ever. And this is one of the best movies I've ever seen, not just this year, but like maybe in the last 5-10 years. It's definitely my number one of the 2020s as a decade so far as well. I just think it's perfect. I really have no notes. Like it's one of those movies where like, I don't really know what else I would have changed. A lot of people complaining that they didn't show the Japanese aspect of it, but I think that's so fundamental is the fact that we don't see the Japanese element of it, because it only shows how kind of misguided a lot of these people's thinking was. Like the one guy's like, oh well, we're not going to bomb that area because we honeymooned there. Like I think that's so fundamental to show that. So then when Oppenheimer has these horrible visions and dreams when he's giving that speech, like it feels even more weight because you don't see the other side of it, because it is so one-sided, and that plays into the whole like unreliable narrator aspect of it too. What's black and white, what's color, what's true, what's fiction, what's kind of romanticized, what's not. And I think just all these elements make it so great, and it's a movie that I keep wanting to go back to find more and more layers every time, and it's a movie I have gone back to 4 times. That's 12 hours of my year, and I want 12 more. I want a whole day of it. So I'm going to watch it probably 4 more times before the Oscars, because now I own it and I love it. And it plays well on TV, but I mean, really it plays really great in a theater, especially. So there's another thing too. Post-COVID, any movie that just kind of brings people back to theaters, I will always triumph, which Barbie and Oppenheimer both did this year. So yeah, love it. Love it. Love it.
Jacob, what are your thoughts about Oppenheimer?
Yeah, I had Oppenheimer. I had it down at 6. That's no slight on the movie. I just don't think the backstory and the subject matter I wasn't as familiar with as Dylan and JP. I mean, obviously I knew about it. Like, who doesn't know about the bomb? But like, I wasn't as invested going into it. But it was really cool to see this, story kind of brought to the big screen. And I will have, like, while it's not my favorite of the year, I have no, I have no, I will say that this is the best movie of the year. I can say that without a doubt. I think from the filmmaking aspect, from acting, from the performances. Like I said with the holdovers, it's just a shame that Cillian Murphy did Oppenheimer this year. Otherwise, I think Giamatti's got an Oscar to lose. But now it's a race, and I'm excited to see who comes out on top because Cillian Murphy, whenever he's paired with Nolan, I think he just delivers a top-notch performance, whether it's in a supporting role or now in a lead role. I hope to see them work together in the future again in a lead role because I think he is incredible. Robert Downey Jr. And again, his award to lose. I think he's incredible in the supporting role. Again, I haven't seen as many movies as everyone else on the panel, so I don't. My list of performances aren't as wide, so I also have that to go on. But this movie it is really good. It's just not one that stuck with me as much as the other ones in my top 5, maybe because I'm just not as the subject matter just isn't as interesting to me as it is to some others. But from a filmmaking standpoint and from an entertainment standpoint, I think it absolutely delivers on those levels. While I do have it at 6, it's not a knock on the movie at all. It's well made. It's going to continue to clean up in award season. I think it's like the winningest movie so far with all the other critics groups and awards that have been given out already. So, and well deserved. So I'm excited to see what Nolan does next. I don't know if he can quite match Oppenheimer because I think it was such an achievement, but way to come back from Tenet. And I'm higher on Tenet than most people, but I understand people's qualms with that movie. But what a return for Nolan. I think he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah,
That's how I can a baseball reference.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those ones like with Oppenheimer. It's one of those ones like with the critics groups alone, like they've really mixed on the best films. Like Oppenheimer, it's been going all over the place. Like there's some that haven't Oppenheimer, some say Killers, but in other categories it's been Oppenheimer straight away. But anyway, look, this is Oppenheimer. When I first saw it, this is it was a little bit outside my top 12. Then I gave it a rewatch specifically for this, and and like my few like nitpicks, like it's one of those ones like it wasn't like they were only those small nitpicks. Like it's one of those ones like I don't think it needed to be 3 hours. Like just like Jacob, I wasn't that familiar with this person at all. But it was a good movie. It's still like and on the rewatch, like my nitpicks were just that nitpicks, and so it went up for me. So Dylan, you also had Oppenheimer number 1, which means Jacob, what is your number 1?
Yeah, my number 1, and it's been number 1 since I saw it. Across the Spider-Verse. I
have it at Mega 1.
No, this was a movie that I saw, and then 2 days later, I went back to the theater to see it again because I absolutely loved this movie, and it was a movie I walked out of asking myself, did I just see one of my favorite movies of all time? And when a movie can do that, can make you think that, I think it's pretty special. And yeah, I watched it, like I said, 2 days later. I've got it on Blu-ray, and I've watched it again. So I've seen it quite a few times this year already, and it's one of those again. Come back for part 2, and while we were supposed to get part 2 or part 3, I guess, this year, it has been delayed, and that part is a little frustrating because I was ready to see how this story ends. Again, the animation is beautiful. The different styles that they were able to use throughout the movie, I think it was just so good. I loved that like 20-minute opening where we were just focusing on Gwen and kind of her story, like her and her dad. I thought that was incredible. I mean, if you just release that as like a 20-minute short, like that's gonna be. I mean, I put that up there with like the beginning of Up as just like some of the best movie openings. The only difference is with this movie, I think the rest of the movie is on par with with the
Get off
beginning.
Up stick, man. Up is a good movie for
Hey, it's my turn. Up is a good movie, but the rest of the movie doesn't compare to those first 10 minutes. Where with Spider-Verse, the rest of the movie does. And then just seeing more Miles, the introduction of these new characters. I think they've created a world where you can continue going in several directions with all these spider people. I think Daniel Kaluuya, Oscar Isaac, I think they give incredible voice performances. Giving more for Gwen to do, I thought was a really good choice because her character, I think, outside of Miles in that first movie, was one that I was really interested to know more about, and so it was cool getting to see that and seeing her relationship with her father. Again, animation is stunning. That whole train sequence with all the spider people, I think was really really cool. I think it rivals the train scene in Spider-Man 2. For me personally, I thought it was incredible. Although live action animation, I think they some people just love seeing things in live action a lot more, and I get that. But I'm an animation guy, so I think that another bias, and that's fine. Yeah, Stephen, you're wrong.
I think Steven was agreeing with you.
No, he said the whole movie was a 10 out of 10, not just the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, he's agreeing with you.
No, never
For
mind.
Up.
He's talking about Up. I disagree. I think the movie is.
Oh, then he was talking about Spider-Man.
Oh, no. He's talking about, I think the movie's a 9 out of 10 out of 10 out of 10. I think Spider-Verse is like a 10 out of 10. If I could give it higher than a 10 out of 10, I would. But you can't give things 12 out of 10. That's just not how it works. You can't give 110%, people. It's not possible. But I could go on and on about Across the Spider-Verse. It's my number one. I think the buzz has died down a little bit, where it was kind of getting like, oh, could we see an animated movie get in for Best Picture? And while I think it should, I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't. I think it's I wouldn't say a lock for Best Animated. I've heard really good things about The Boy and the Heron. I just haven't been able to see it. But yeah, it's one of the best animated movies of the decade for sure. And just I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly off pace. Like, I think it's definitely Spider-Verse or Boy and the Heron winning animated feature. Like, those are the two that I think is what the race is between now. But anyway, I had Spider-Verse a little bit lower. It was my number 9, but it's one of those ones that I also really love this movie, and I think it's great. And to those people like, oh, it's only half a movie. Like when you think about it, yes, it ends on a cliffhanger, and all that. But when you think about it in terms of like the arc, like it's essentially a whole movie before Spider-Gwen's arc in the movie. So I mean, in that, when you look at it that way, it's a whole movie on that thing. But yet the whole like overarching story is like a 2-part. But that being said, it's great, and I loved it. There's not much more I can say about this. That Jacob hasn't already said. JPO, what are your thoughts on Spider-Verse?
This is how good I think the movie is. It's my second favorite movie of the year, and I still think somehow it's slightly overrated because people love this movie here, and I do too. Maybe I don't know if I'm at that like all timer just because I have to sit on things and wait at like another viewing or so. But that first viewing, even the second was great. I mean, everything's been kind of said here. I think Gwen kind of steals the show, and kind of her setup with her father, I think it's absolutely tremendous here. The style too was really cool and unique. They continued on from the first one here. Isaac, you mentioned Kaluuya. Yeah, this is just it's a good film. Not even talking animation. There's no like qualifications. It's just a good film. Yeah.
Didn't even touch on the villain. If you would have told me a Jason Schwartzman villain would be that intimidating, I would just said,
and especially too when like it starts out too, you're thinking like he's just kind of like the setup villain, like like the beginning villain, to get through.
Yeah.
And I've always loved Schwartzman too, so I was happy with that.
Yeah. and according to Letterboxd, Rashford Portman was the most watched actor of the
four,
year.
four big movies. I mean, three big movies, and then Quiz Lady, but which I guess a lot of people saw. But that, Asteroid City, and Hunger Games. I mean, big year for him.
Yeah, good job, Schwartzy.
um, but Dylan, what are your thoughts about Spider-Verse?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really talk more. You guys have talked about all the amazing things about it. I agree, though. Like, if you look at it as Gwen's story, I mean, it starts with Gwen, it ends with Gwen, the final shot is Gwen. So I think in that sense, it's a very complete movie. And, like, the cliffhanger was so cool. Like, I know people were frustrated by it, but, like, how could you not be amped up when that happened in the theater? And, like, it all starts to click into place. Yeah, I've just got great personal reasons why I love this movie, too. Just, this was, I did a film shoot in June, and this was the first day off me and the guys on set had, and we all went to see this movie together, and it was a really great bonding experience too. So I just have a personal connection that way too. So I just love the movie. It's gorgeously animated, great voice performances. So love it.
Brian brings up in the chat that Carrie Elwes also had a big 2023. He was in that Operation Fortune, Rooster Girl, Black Girl, Sweetwater, which I have no idea what that is, Dead Reckoning, and Rebel Moon.
I want to know about a big 2023, but he was busy, yes.
Yeah, there's but yeah, moving on to my number one. And my number one is Wonka. This is a movie that's like, do we really need this? And it also brings me to another irritating trend of, it's going to be a musical, sell it as a musical. Don't just hide the music. I'm looking at you, Mean Girls Color Purple trailers. But yeah, I didn't expect it to be music, like a full-on musical to what it was. But I this is one of those ones that I loved every second of it. Because I got out of the theaters like I was still singing Noodle. It was like for the phones, all that, and it's just really catching. And it's always good seeing Rowan Atkinson in a movie. He's always a lot of fun every time he appears. And yeah, this is just a fun movie from head to toe, and it's one of those ones that if they were to do a sequel to continue to show more of Wonka's adventures and stuff, because this is still a considerable amount of time before Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So you could easily do that if they wanted to. But yeah, Jacob, you also had Wonka on the list. What are your thoughts?
I did. I had Wonka at number 8, and the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is in my top 5 all time. So I was a little like, do we need a prequel? And I went into it with like mid expectations. Like, I think it's gonna be good. I mean, Paul King is directing this, the director of Paddington, and so it's like I have faith that it's gonna be at least good. But I wasn't expecting to have as much fun with it as I did. I think the Chocolate Cartel was a lot of fun. Some interesting villains there. I think Keegan-Michael Key is having the time of his life as the chief of police. I think he's just a lot of fun. Rowan Atkinson, like you mentioned. And then the music. I thought the music was really good. I like the little subtle nods to like Pure Imagination throughout the movie, up until like the end when we get Timothée Chalamet's version of Pure Imagination. I think not Gene Wilder's, but I think it's still really good. And yeah, sometimes I put movies in my top 10 just because I have a lot of fun with them. The Al Yankovic story was my number 1 the year it came out, just because I had so much fun with it, and I could see myself rewatching that movie over and over again. And it was finally released on physical media, and I picked it up so I could watch it over and over again. And I think the Wonka's going to be the same way. I think, yeah, the music's great, the story's great. The girl that played Noodle, I think she gives a great performance, and sometimes steals the show from Timothée Chalamet when they're on screen together. So one of the bigger surprises because like I said, I didn't know if we needed it. I expected to like it. I didn't expect to love it as a big fan of the original. So yeah, it was really good.
But with that, it brings us to the end. And Brian wanted more Hugh Grant. I think we got the proper amount of Hugh Grant in the movie. We didn't need a lot of him.
Like more screen time or taller?
That was the one thing because if you watch in the original, it's like you hear things about Loopland, and then it's like, do those match up? We'll see. This is why I need more.
I mean, it's one of those ones like, well, it may be a big year for Zam because it was the Hugh Grant just having fun because like between this Dungeons and Dragons and Operation Fortune, it's like he's at the point of his like he's just doing stuff because he wants to.
Yeah. I'm definitely curious, Dylan, when you do that draft, who people choose as like their MVP.
I know, MVP.
Because I think there's a few good choices to be made.
But with that, Chris is putting his list in the chat multiple times. It's like at 12 he had the color purple. At 11 he had Margaret, Bottom, Spider-Verse, Iron Claw, Name Everfull, Godzilla -1, Past Lives, Oppenheimer, American Fiction, Holdovers, Poor Things. But JPO, if you can just recap what your list was.
Sure. Let's see here. 1 second. At number 12, I have Good Burger 2. At 11, I
not that
need
list,
to
not
put.
that
Oh, my bad. At 12, I have Dungeons and Dragons on Thieves. 11, Scream 6. 10, Joyride, not the Walker season. 9, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. 8, Talk to Me, not the Chiwetel Ejiofor movie. 7, Creed 3. Number 6, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Number 5, Air. Number 4, John Wick Chapter 4. 3, The Holdovers. 3, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And 1, Oppenheimer.
And Dylan, recap your list.
Yep, number 12, I had John Wick Chapter 4. At number 11, I had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. At number 10, I had Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. At number 9, I had Bottoms. At number 8, I had May December. At number 7, Beyond Utopia. At number 6, All of Us Strangers. At number 5, The Taste of Things. At number 4, Poor Things. I didn't mean to do that. At number 3, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. At number 2, The Holdovers. And at number 1, Oppenheimer. Or I should read that title. It's a Mia Margaret. Sorry.
It's a me.
It's a Mia Margaret.
That's the crossover we need.
Yeah.
Oh, God, where are you?
Chris Pratt playing a 7th grade girl. Yeah.
Jacob,
if it was animated, you could cast him.
Right.
That's true. He's going to be
recap your top 12.
Yes, at number 12, I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. At number 11, I have Past Lives. At number 10 is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. At number 9, Blackberry. Number 8, Wonka. At number 7, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. At number 6 is Oppenheimer. At number 5, John Wick Chapter 4. At 4, Air. 3 is The Iron Claw. 2 is The Holdovers. And number 1 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
And for me, at number 12, I had Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour. At 11, Red Sword 10. At 10, Red Air. At 9, Red Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. At 8, Red Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. At 7, Red Talk to Me. At 6, Red Missing. At 5, Red Oppenheimer. At 4, Red Up 4. At 3, Red Dungeons and Dragons. At 2, Red Barbie. At number 1, Red Wonka. With that, when I post the, I'm not going to do a poll for this one, just because I'll make a graphic of, because I'm going to combine all the 4 lists and do a cohesive one. I'm not going to waste airtime doing it because it's just going to be really boring to watch. But next week's episode of Rankum is going to be top 12 songs from live action musicals from the 2010s. So you can look out for that next week. But JPO, we can be find you online.
Not on that episode. No, I was kidding. But yeah, if I'm over at the Pierce Co, we do some movie trivia over there, as well as our own countdowns and other little shenanigans involving the movie world. Then over at Pierce Wrestling, similar idea. We got wrestling trivia over there, exclusive matches and interviews, and yeah, popping up all over the place. You catch me sometimes here on Raycom, Lonely Marks Wrestling Podcast on the Movie Network, along with this that dude Jacob Barber, and Lights Out, other things. Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Dylan, we can be on you online.
You can find me at my YouTube channel, The Dill Pickle Movie Network. You can also find me at The Dill Pickle Podcast if you don't want to look at my face, which I don't blame you. And you can find all my shows over there. Picture This, which is an Oscars podcast. Frame Wreck, which is a So Bad It's Good movie podcast. Marvelous Movie Mondays, which is obviously Marvel. And then Draft Day, where we draft things every month. And I think I'm forgetting one. Oh, yeah, Recipe for Reality TV buffs, especially with the Traitors Season 2 coming very soon. Thanks for having me. It's always a blast to do this, especially with my very weird tastes like documentaries and French cooking films and shit like that. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like me, JPO, and Jacob seem to coalesce so much. As like Dylan was out, he was like, taste the things.
Gotta love an outlier, you know.
But Jacob, we can be on you on.
Yeah, you can catch me over at the Movie Hero Network, and actually in about 30 to 45 minutes, Austin Pez Howell and I will be going live with a podcast about movies, doing our wrap up for 2023. So we're not going to do our best movies of the year because that's another show that they're doing, but just kind of surprises and things like that from the year. Some of our first time watches, and then he and I are both pretty big physical media guys, so some of our favorite pickups of the year will be showing off, and then like JPO said, the Lonely Marks on Thursdays at 10 Eastern. We'll be discussing some TNA next week, so that's what we're doing. And then Tournament Fights, Tier Ranker.
That's a pro wrestling company. We're not watching dirty movies.
Yeah, we're not.
It's not a dirty movie. It's a pro wrestling company.
No. TNA Wrestling.
Just want to clarify.
Although, I mean, you can still. Never mind.
But yeah, you can find me popping up every now and then on Movie Hero Network. In a couple of weeks, you can find me and JPO going at each other about our favorite TV shows. It was supposed to be this week, but due to personal reasons, I had to get it moved. But you can also find me on Tape Free Productions hosting Rankum every week. It's currently it's going to be every Sunday. I am thinking about maybe switching it up at some stage, but for now it's still going to be Sundays. Maybe earlier than normal though, because I actually do like the 6 o'clock time. Because everything else seems to start at 8 or later. I always end up clashing with something. But you can also sort of find me popping up on other things, trivia. I know I'm being slack on the trivia on Full Metal hosting things, but later today you will see Austin Pez Howell's match, round 2 match dropping, but until next time, that is the end of Rankum for another week, and just remember, watch movies and